Hi, Jay. I'd like to ask you a question about my previous relationship that I've discovered that's very addictive, and I'm sort of at the stage now of working through the blocks and some of the denial that I have about it. A part of me still has disbelief that it's actually happening, and it's really been going over a 3-year period now. So I'm just wondering what the causal emotions are within myself that have created the addiction in the first place.
Do you want to be more specific, or it's too personal to be specific?
No, that's fine. So what do you mean?
Well, what is the addiction you've noticed?
Oh, well, we had a very passionate relationship.
Yep.
So, but the rest of the relationship was very problematic.
Yep.
So, and I realised that it was very much out of love.
Yep.
So now that I've been withdrawing from the relationship, I found that very difficult, and getting into these sort of, whether it's texting or some type of communication.
Wanting the interaction to restart up
because as soon as I realise that I actually have to disconnect from it, the emotions are so intense that I try and take myself out of it, and even like a text message or something will take me out of the emotion. But I've dealt with
So you could say then you're addicted to the passion.
Okay, yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's the addiction.
Oh.
And you follow me?
Yeah.
So the addiction is exactly the thing that you want back again.
Yep.
Really, that's the addiction.
Yep.
So you're addicted to the passion.
Yep.
If the rest of the relationship isn't loving, isn't kind, compassionate, understanding, and all those other things that are a part of love, then obviously the addiction to the passion, you're willing to overlook and even deny these other aspects. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the addiction to the passion is so great that you're willing to be unloved while, as long as you have the passion.
So what's the causal emotion that's driving that addiction to the passion?
Okay, good question. Let me just rub some of this out.
I'm addicted to passion.
Because you already know the answer, actually. But let's go through the process. So you know now that you're addicted to passion. By passion, are we talking about basically sexual connection? Or are we talking more about, be more specific?
Yeah, I would say it's more sexual passion, yeah.
What does it include?
Intimacy and time together.
Well, let's call it physical intimacy or sexual intimacy because it's not real intimacy.
No.
Real intimacy would result in the person being compassionate, kind, understanding, and all these other things. Real intimacy would do that as well, would it not? As well as have the sexual passion. So let's be more specific.
Okay.
We need to be very specific when we're looking at our problems.
Okay.
So we're saying we're interested in the sexual passion, that's the addiction, and what about the sexual passion appeals to you? Be very specific. Is it the orgasm, or is it the part leading up to, or is it part after, or is it... What is it? Does that make sense?
Oh.
You said you were free to talk about
it. All of the above.
All of the above?
Yeah.
So let's start with the beginning of the passion, which is like kissing, cuddling.
Yeah,
how does that
even
feel?
Into sort of like more the tantra and the breathing and the connection with that person and all of that type of thing.
Yeah, see,
So
I would argue
that.
not having a connection with the person.
Yeah, okay.
Right, a connection with the person would result in a lot of other things, and we'll explain the connection between two people in a minute in terms of this. What we're looking at specifically in this case is your addiction.
Okay.
And what we want to do is be very specific about that addiction. So we've got an addiction to sexual passion, but what is it about it that appeals to you so much? What do you feel? What do you get out of it?
Well, it must be the physiological feelings, and I guess I feel euphoric as well. So I get a
it's sort of like orgasmic, euphoric?
Yeah, just with euphoria. And I guess I thought that was connection, or, like a emotional connection.
So what you're doing is you're associating sexual connection with us having like a soul connection.
Yep.
Does that make sense? That's what you're doing? You've made the association between sexual connection and soul connection.
Yeah, with a committed partner, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is the partner committed?
No.
Can you see you just told yourself an untruth?
Well, when it was a commitment, I guess, when it was a committed relationship, but it's not now, and it hasn't been like that for a long time, but we've been going backwards and forwards.
So if it hasn't been like that for a long time, was it ever really?
I guess not, no.
Not really, is
No.
it? It's like,
Okay.
like if I'm fully committed to Mary,
Yes.
would I even consider having any sexual relations with any person?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, would I? Like if there's a heart.
Okay.
Feeling
And even though
inside.
the relationship has disconnected, this has still been going on for years, this whole thing.
So the relationship's disconnected, but
Yep.
you're still wanting to get sexually involved with the
Yep.
person.
We still, if we're in the same room, that passion's there and it's very strong.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Can I just stop calling it passion?
Okay. So,
Let's call it what it is.
yeah.
Sexual addiction.
Oh.
Can you see straight away, and this is really good for everyone to understand, we feel ashamed a lot of looking at ourselves truthfully. There's no shame in this process. It's just a process of looking at myself truthfully. Okay, passion would involve all aspects of my life, and it would encompass being kind, considerate, and all these other things. And it won't just be in one area of my life, my sexual life, but it will be in every possible... Like, so if I'm passionate for Mary, I'm not just passionate for her body, I'm passionate for her mind, her soul, her feelings, I want to know her, I want to feel everything about her. That's what real passion is. Does that make sense?
I guess I equate sexual addiction to, what I've seen with addictive behaviour.
Isn't yours addictive?
Yeah, it seems to be
Can
a little
I
bit
just
different
rewind?
than going and picking up people on the street and constantly being...
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
but there's other emotions that prevent you from doing that.
Right, okay. Oh, this is awful.
But if you didn't have those other emotions, you might do that.
Oh,
Does that make
gosh.
sense? Like, it's okay.
Okay.
But can you see how there's this almost instant dismissal of what's really going on? There's this desire to not really know sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is why many of us struggle with dealing with our causal emotion, because we feel so ashamed of identifying, oh, no, not that, anything else but that, And often then we convince ourselves. So, for example, I might have 20 monogamous relationships in a row, and I say, well, at least I'm not immoral. Right? And what we're really saying is my definition of immoral is having relationships at the same time. That's really what we're saying. But having 20 different relationships can have a lot of immorality in it. Like when I say immoral, out of harmony with love, relationships become immoral, out of harmony with morals. Morals are when I have integrity and honesty and openness and all of those things. How can you maintain monogamous relationships one after the other? How many of those relationships were actually moral in the sense that you had integrity, honesty, openness, truthfulness with that person on every subject? Not many relationships fall into that category, do they? Right? But it just depends on what our definition of moral is. If our definition of moral is, I just don't have sex with someone else while I'm having sex with you, then my definition of moral is very different than that definition. So let's get back, though, to the addiction. Let's call it what it is. I feel drawn, like uncontrollably drawn. Uncontrollably drawn means addiction. Right? So I have an addiction. I feel uncontrollably drawn to sexual passion with one person in particular. Does that make sense? So this is not with everybody, but with one person in particular. So I'm telling myself, oh, the good thing is it's not with everybody. At least I've got over that addiction, whatever that one might be. And now I'm just focused on one person. Like I'm just totally drawn to this one person, no matter whether they're in a relationship with someone else or not. That's immaterial to me. Right? I'm just drawn to them, drawn to them, drawn to them. Isn't that what's happening here?
That's right, yep.
Okay. So what am I drawn to really? So I've got to be honest with myself, there's something in this person. So this person, let's describe this person. Now, whoever is this person, if you're ever watching this video, you'll remember that we have not named you. But go ahead. How would you describe the person you're irresistibly drawn towards?
He's very physically attractive.
Physical attractive?
He's younger than myself, 12 years younger.
He's 12 years younger?
Yeah. He has a calming sense about him, like a calming type personality. He can be soothing.
Soothing?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a calm person. He's so he sort of he can connect to meditation, and he's calming and that sort of thing. I would say he's fairly kind, but but that varies.
No,
Sometimes.
let's go with this.
Because he can be very self-absorbed a lot of the time. So
sometimes he's self-absorbed.
yeah,
So
he's self-centred.
What we notice first, whenever we list anything about a person that we're addicted to, generally we only list the things that we like to see. That's what I'm illustrating by this list. So you like to see that. You like to see that he's younger than you. There's something in that. You like to see that he's soothing and calm and so forth.
Yeah, and he has a set of moral beliefs that I like. So he has a set of
I'm sorry,
morals.
but I would have to disagree with you
okay.
completely on that one. He actually does not have a set of moral beliefs you like. You've convinced yourself that he does.
Okay, yep.
And there's a very big difference between convincing yourself of something and it actually being the case. Case in point, when he sees you and you feel drawn to him, even if he's in a relationship, he feels drawn to you, does he not?
Yes, but he's never been in another relationship, but yep.
I'm not saying that whether
Okay.
the fact that he's drawn to
Yes.
you
Yep.
means he's not being honest in that relationship right at that moment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but he's not ever been in another relationship though.
So he's been in casual liaisons.
Yes, that's right.
Is casual liaisons loving?
No.
So how can that be kind?
Yeah, that's not.
Even to himself.
Yep.
Right. Can you see, what we finish up doing is we finish up going down the track of justifying why we have a certain addiction. And this is what you're really doing here. These things are a very important part of the underlying causal emotion, right?
Yeah.
But you're justifying the addiction
Yep.
and not looking at the entire picture. This is what we often do when we're dealing with any emotion.
Yeah.
So we say, so I say to people about their parents, for example, I say, your parents were not loving to you. People put out their hands, my parents were loving to me, they did this, that and this. Yeah, did they smack you as well? Oh yeah, they did that too. And did they, and I list a lot of other things they did. Yeah, they did that too. Are all those things loving? Oh, well, yeah, I think they're loving. And this is the problem. We think things are loving that God knows is totally out of harmony with love. That's the issue we face, right? So there's something going on here where you think something's loving that is not loving.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And we need to be prepared to firstly acknowledge that there's got to be something here.
Yep.
Right. So this is the man. Right. I'll put kind in brackets because I want to address the issue. But we think it's soothing, calm and so forth. Okay. How old is he, by the way? Can you tell me?
26.
26, yeah. So he's a 26-year-old hunk, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What do you feel having a 26-year-old physically attractive man being attracted to you? Like if this was now a 46-year-old unattractive man
Yeah.
being attracted to you, what would you feel?
No, that wouldn't work.
Can you see it makes you feel different things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mary's got a 47-year-old unattractive man being attracted to her. And she's fine with it, right? So what's going on is... What was that? That's sarcasm, yeah. So what's going on is that there's got to be something that it makes you feel. You see, every addiction is based around what it makes you feel about you, generally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So having a relationship with this man makes you feel, more than any other person you've ever met, makes you feel something that you don't normally feel.
Mm-hmm.
And you've become addicted to that feeling.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
So what is the feeling you're addicted to? Now, I asked you at the beginning whether it was orgasm or whatever, and My suggestion is that it isn't.
Okay.
Because you
It's an
could
emotion?
orgasm with,
Yeah.
well, basically you can orgasm with any man on the planet if he is interested in making you orgasm, but that doesn't make a relationship, and neither does it make a soul connection. The truth is, under your definition of a soul condition, you have a soul connection with 3.4 billion men, because every one of them is possibly going to be able to make you orgasm. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So that doesn't constitute a soul
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
There's something about this man
Yeah.
in particular that,
Yeah.
that makes you feel something inside of yourself
Yeah.
that you don't want to give up. And there's a reason why you don't want to give it up. There must be some reason.
Yeah.
And you feel drawn back to it, drawn back to it,
Yeah.
drawn back to it. It's one of the reasons why you're not entering into a relationship
Yeah.
with anyone else, isn't
Yeah.
it? Just
That's right. Yeah.
because you feel constantly drawn to this.
Yeah.
Yep. But he's not entering a relationship with you.
No.
So, there's obviously something going on. So what is it? What does it make you feel?
I just know. I guess I'm more connected when it's not there and I don't have it. How that makes me feel, and I've been really.
So let's list the things that you feel when you don't have it.
Yeah.
How do you
Okay.
feel?
So I'm rejected. It's rejection
You
and
feel
abandonment.
rejected. Yeah.
Yeah. And abandoned.
Abandoned.
Fearful.
You feel afraid. Why do you
Yeah.
feel afraid? List the specific fears. The problem with saying I'm afraid is that it's very, very general, and it doesn't help you process emotion, right?
I'm
You need to-
fearful of letting
so
him go. Like it's a fear of letting go or something.
Why are you afraid of letting him go? What's
I think it comes back to the rejection and abandonment stuff.
right? So you've already listed those two.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the main. They're the main two. And I know.
How
when
do you feel about yourself as a woman when he's not touching you and holding you?
Well, I guess I've gone through years of progression and years of improving my self-esteem and my self-worth, but that has been an ongoing thing there.
Yeah, so let's just rewind all of that
Yep.
and make out you didn't say it.
Okay.
I asked
Well, I
for
feel
just
confident
the feeling.
about. I feel confident about myself. Sorry, about me as a woman. Was that the question?
Do you?
Yep.
How
Yep.
can you feel confident and yet rejected? You see,
Well, it feels like this thing,
but I'll
at
put to
times
you,
I
if
can
you were confident about yourself as a woman and you loved yourself as a woman,
Yeah.
nobody would make you feel the feeling of rejection.
Yeah, I think it's when it comes to this, AJ, in this particular area, I guess I'm confident in a lot of other areas, and
Okay,
so it's in
I
this
agree with that.
particular area.
What's the particular area you're not
the
confident in?
relationship area,
Right, so
the connection.
so there's a real lack of confidence about relationships?
Yeah, I think it's
you-
coming back to my father stuff.
And the truth is actually it all comes back to
Yep.
your father's stuff.
Yep.
So rather than just saying specifically where it comes. But, so you feel rejected, abandoned,
Yeah.
yep. And why is there this sexual thing in it, do you think? Like, why is it to do with sexual... It's got to be a sexual rejection, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A sexual abandonment. Does that make sense? It's like
Yeah.
totally different than you just having a relationship where you feel secure and then he runs off with somebody else.
Yeah.
That's more of a general abandonment.
Yeah.
This is more of a sexual abandonment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, I didn't know any of these wounds existed until he actually walked out, and then everything appeared. And to be honest, when I first started to feel the emotions around it, that felt like I was going to die. So the emotions have been very severe, and I've come down over the years in severity.
Yep.
But I'm still left with, trying to really get to what the cause is,
Yep.
and working on what that is to try and relieve myself from
Yep.
that law of attraction.
When you cry about being rejected,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Well, I can normally go back into really, really deep sorrow, and it's almost like my soul is aching, and I'm crying and aching in that space of rejection
Yeah.
and feeling unworthy and
But
unlovable.
can you feel
Like
the
there's no
projection
love.
coming out of you towards him? And the projection is, I wish you were with me.
Yes. Yep.
Can you feel that?
Yep.
Like, I wish you were with me.
Yeah. I don't want to believe that it's happening.
You don't actually want to believe it's going to ever be over.
No, that's right. And this is years now.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So when you're actually crying and you're projecting that a requirement to somebody else, you're not actually dealing with a causal emotion.
No, okay. Yeah.
Does everyone understand that? See, if I have a projection, let's say I'm getting rejected by somebody and I'm crying because of the rejection, but I'm projecting at them that they shouldn't have rejected me, I am actually not in the causal emotion. I am in the self-deception emotion. And I can cry like that for 20 years and nothing will get released. Does that make sense to everyone? Right? So it's pointless doing that for us to grow, right? But it's tempting because it feels a temporary relief of our condition. But the problem is the next day we're going to have to do the same crying again. The next day we're going to have to do the same crying again and so forth. And we'll be crying for years and years and years, but still not getting anywhere and actually still not getting closer to God or closer to ourselves either. I know you've been working on your self-esteem issues, but there's one area of your self-esteem issues that you have not been working on because you've been in addiction.
Yep.
And that's your sexual esteem.
Okay.
Your
Yep.
sexual self-esteem.
Yep. Okay.
Does that make sense? So what happens when the man that you want, and there's even a reason why you want this particular man, the man that you want doesn't want you.
Yep. I agree.
And how does that feel inside of you?
Well, I can't stand that feeling. I can't stand it. Yeah.
And that's the feeling you're going to have to feel.
Okay. I felt some emotions around feeling the truth. The truth is that he did not love me. And I felt some emotions around that. But then the next few days it seemed to shift into something differently. And those feelings of the truth that the man that he doesn't love me sort of then went back to my emotions around my father figures not loving me. So I've sort of gone back through that channel. But then, a few days there seems to be another type of layer or another type of emotion I'm dealing with.
Yep.
So I'm still sort of stuck with which causal I should be concentrating on.
My feeling is go into the emotion of the sexual rejection and really allow yourself to start feeling it deeply. But the sexual rejection there's an addiction in it for yourself. So what I'm saying is that you have this addiction, which is a projection to this other person that they must satisfy. They're the only person that can satisfy this passion, this desire that you have. The desire to be sexually aroused when you're with the person he can only satisfy.
Yeah.
And what's happening if you look at it from a metaphysical perspective is here's his body, here's yours, your spirit body, right? There are certain connections that are going out of you and out of him that are totally compatible with each other that cause the sexual inflammation, if you like, to intensify. But the heart connection is not operational. If it was, he couldn't even decide. The truth is, he couldn't even become aroused if you were being hurt. If the heart connection was operational. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the truth is that while you have a connection going on at the first and second chakra levels to do with worthiness and sexual unworthiness, right? He's satisfying your sexual unworthiness feelings to the greatest degree that any other man has, and therefore you're addicted to him.
Right.
The question was, what's his addiction? His addiction is to actually make an older woman feel sexually attractive. Right? So his stuff's to do with his mother.
Yeah.
Right? So his stuff is about making another person, and by the way, even if it was a younger woman, it'd still be to do with his mother. It's about making a woman feel like she's sexually attractive and sexually fulfilled and all of those things, and it validates him as a male.
Yep.
So his addiction is, I'm not a male unless the woman is having these reactions to me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's his addiction. So he will find a woman exactly like yourself.
Okay.
And the two of you, based on both of the addictions, will get together, but it will not be a satisfying relationship because there's all these other parts of you which are like your solar plexus chakra and your heart chakra and your throat chakra and all of those different other places, which are all governed by different emotions, this one by fear, this one by love, this one by truth. None of those are operational, right? And you're not even willing to be truthful about him, right? Let alone truthful with yourself about what's driving the relationship. And so none of those other chakras are operational, so the entire thing is concentrated in the first and second chakras. And therefore concentrated on those emotions. So those emotions are all to do with, desiring, wanting somebody to desire you. And in this case, because it's a younger man who's physically attractive, it's a part of how unattractive you feel at times about yourself. Yep. And you know that you've felt that a lot in the past, and you've told yourself a lot that you're over that.
Yep.
But actually, as soon as you get together with him, all of those things come up as well, which is telling you you're not over that, right? Does that make sense? So whatever work's been done in the past about it wasn't real.
Okay.
It was just because this relationship is exposing that it's not real. So this man is the perfect man to trigger these emotions in you.
Yeah.
That's the basis of the relationship. Now the key is to feel those emotions, but you're not feeling them.
Okay.
What you're feeling is a projection at him that he should come back.
Yeah, I think I've gone through whole layers, AJ, so, that might be one of the layers, and the other layers have been back to
Can I ask you a very blunt question, though?
Yeah.
Right now, do you want him back? If he walked in the door today and said,
there
I want
would be
you,
something there
what
automatic.
would you do?
Yeah, there'd be something there automatic. He's been contacting me in the last few weeks, and I haven't been contacting him at all, and really been trying to ask God to help me with the emotions.
The fact that he's been contacting you means at the soul level, just like the mother with the child, there's automatically a contact going on.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So don't stop telling yourself that you haven't contacted him back.
Okay.
Because the truth is this emotion existing in you is the contact back.
Yes, yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
This is the contact back. He feels this from you.
Yeah.
He feels this big sexual neediness for him, right? And he goes, I can feel she wants me. I can feel she wants me.
Okay.
I can feel she wants me.
Yeah.
You don't have to say a word, send a text message, pick up the phone or go and visit him, and he'll know you want him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is
there
this
is
coming
contact.
back to sexual injuries, AJ? I've been recently dealing with some emotions around my birth mother, and I was adopted out, but she was raped, and I've been dealing with some emotions of going into terror and feeling like men are coming at me and hurting me, and there's been lots of sexual shame around that I've been dealing with.
You were a result of a rape,
yes,
weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And can you see that has a huge bearing on this?
Yeah.
And that's the causal emotions. And when you allow yourself to actually get to those emotions, just allow yourself to feel it, it's okay. When you allow yourself to get to those emotions completely, you will find all of this will just go away. It will all go away. When you're the result of a rape and then get given away, basically, what happens is that there's a huge amount of emotion in that, both about the father and the mother. On the father side, there was a lot of rage, sexual rage, that he was acting out towards your mother, right? And that sexual rage was a part of your being conceived.
Yeah, I've gone back into the womb and I felt the emotions around then. It feels like I'm growing in hell.
Yep. And then your mother had a whole series of emotions about the rape and therefore rejection of you.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of rejection from the male going on and some rejection of the female as well.
Yeah.
The rejection of the female is going to be how you see yourself.
Okay.
The rejection of the male is how you will see the male. So that event is causing this entire attraction.
Okay, so that's one I've been going back to more recently when I've been doing lots of emotional processing.
Yep.
I just feel like the man's coming at me and is trying to sexually hurt me.
Yep. And what you need to do is a lot more work in this,
in that area. Okay.
And in fact, you don't need to worry about these other areas so much.
Okay.
You need to focus on that particular event.
Yep.
And the feelings you have surrounding that event. And you'll find that once you release a lot of it, there's two sides to it inside of yourself. One side is that how you see yourself. So all the work you've done, lots of sort of what I'd call
natural love type.
Programming type work you've done towards yourself to try to get yourself to have some self-esteem.
Yeah.
when you actually release this event, self-esteem will automatically come to you.
Okay.
Do you follow me?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, with regard to the male, that is a lot about what your mother's emotions were while you were in the womb for that 9-month period, carrying all these emotions about the rape
Yes.
that she was unwilling to deal with.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel, do you know your mother now?
I've only met her once.
Right, yeah. She's still unwilling to deal with them, actually.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she's been carrying those emotions all of her life.
Yes.
So she has a lot of emotions about this entire thing as well.
Yeah.
But the important thing for you with the male is to realise that what you're looking for is a male who sexually accepts you and who has no sexual rage. In fact, what you're looking for is a male who's totally the flip side opposite of that.
Yep.
In
Well,
other
and
words,
he would have been, he's a
which
bit
is
like
what
that.
he is.
Yep.
Where what he is he is willing to try to satisfy the emotion in him I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is that he is willing to satisfy any woman sexually that he can
Right.
in order to feel good about himself as a male.
Right.
Right? And he would never harm those women violently.
Yep.
And this is why you are attracted to the soothing calmness.
Calming, yep.
He would never harm them violently, but actually he is harming quite a lot of women in the process because the women have the flip side emotional injury that he is having the addiction with. But what's happening is you're going to attract a man who in every way possible, sexually, will be projecting at you the opposite emotions to what your mother felt from her rape, from the rapist.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what you're attracting. That's your addiction.
Yeah.
And every one of these attractions, by the way, with sexual attractions, almost all of them, they all come from some fairly severe childhood trauma usually, right, in some case. And it might not necessarily be your trauma.
Yeah.
It could also be your mother's
yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
So that's the thing to bear in mind. So in your case, this is the entire thing is based upon that. Now, when you're looking for this, you're looking for this soothing, calm, attractive, kind, considerate man who just wants to please the woman at every possible opportunity. That's the kind of guy he is outwardly, right? Wants to please, and he definitely wants to please the women sexually. Like there's a real strong desire in him to do that, and that's the kind of man you're going to be attracted to while you're denying the other man. And the other man is the rageful, sexually violent man that was the father.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's the person you need to allow yourself to feel about.
Okay, so those emotions I've been feeling more recently, and when I feel the man come at me, and I can feel a violent man, and I equate that to like, it feels like a bikie gang type mentality, and that's the emotions I'm feeling coming from the man.
So let yourself go into these emotions. They're quite hard to go into, I know.
Yeah.
But these are the healing emotions. And once you release, there's a whole layer of terror.
Yes.
That firstly needs
Which is her terror.
That's her mum's terror.
Yep.
Mum's terror of the event entered you.
Yes.
And so there's a whole layer of terror. So that needs to firstly be released.
Yep.
And then underneath that terror is the sexual rejection. Like there's this deep sexual rejection. From a rape, the woman feels deeply sexually like dirty and rejected.
Yep.
And those emotions entered you as well.
Yeah, there's some of the emotions I have been feeling more recently.
And this man makes you not feel sexually dirty anymore.
That's right, yeah.
You know, he desires you sexually so much that he overcomes the feeling in you of sexual dirtiness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
There's a lot,
There's a lot in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So can you see the patterns of what's going on?
And there's quite a few layers to it, AJ. Like it's not just necessarily one causal emotion. I feel like if I can get through this one, I feel like I'm going to be fairly free in this area. But there's a lot to it.
Yes.
There's a lot of layers and a lot of emotions.
I agree.
Terror and
The terror layers are going to be the most difficult for you, and in fact, they're the reason why you're looking for the addiction.
Okay.
Because you don't want to feel the terror layers.
All right.
Once you feel the terror layers, you'll be far less in the addiction.
Yeah.
Most addictions, remember, are driven by the denial of the fear.
Okay.
And terror is the biggest fear that you can possibly feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we're denying terror, we're going to have very big addictions.
Okay.
So every really powerful addiction is driven by a denial of terror at some level.
Yeah.
Yeah. and denial of the underlying event generally. There's usually an event associated with these things.
Okay. Yeah. Thank
you,
AJ. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
So can you see the pattern is, I feel the man was older than your mother as well.
Right.
Probably even maybe double your mother's age, actually.
Yeah.
Your
she
mother
can't
was
even
quite
remember
young.
what she was young, and she had to hide the pregnancy and go away to the
Yeah,
Salvation
lots of
Army,
shame.
and lots of shame. So I felt very embarrassed and very shamed when I was 4 and 5, when I knew I was adopted.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was, I now understand that was her shame.
Yes.
And she said that he was Italian or, dark looking, so she didn't even really know what he looked like.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and a lot of the emotions you're carrying are related to that event.
Okay.
And now, while that might sound scary, it also means that you can focus your attention emotionally on this event.
Yep.
And actually deal with the majority of your underlying causal emotions.
Yeah, through that.
Through that event.
That's
so
great.
that's a really good thing.
Yep.
That can happen like that. A lot of other people have very indeterminate emotions, and therefore are a lot more difficult to focus on specific things. The beauty of an addiction is that it exposes the emotions very harshly to us, but in a way that's quite good, because it's the emotions that are exposed harshly to us that we finish up dealing with first, generally, that we want to deal with first. And because of that, we can get through some very big events very rapidly. The most difficult emotions sometimes are the emotions that are very, very fine little emotions about where we're not loving. And they often take many years to deal with because it's not being slammed in our face at every moment. But the terror is going to be the biggest issue that you're facing. Yeah.
Thank you, AJ.
No worries.